He's a typical woman, that's for sure.
And we're live. Here we are for yet another week of whatever chaotic conversations occur. We will have Kristin join us shortly, and that's not a height reference. But for the moment, I am joined as ever by regular partners in crime, Bill Slawski and Terry Van Horne. So, Bill, say hello.
Hello. Hello, Bill.
Terry, how are you doing?
Good, and working at it, fooling them all. So we're still ahead of the game.
Excellent. So, we'll start in the traditional fashion. Bill, what have you been up to this week?
I'm planning on giving a presentation to a semantic web group. We've sort of joined forces with SEO San Diego and SEM San Diego to co-host a presentation, and we're being sponsored by Moz and Cedar Interactive. We're giving a presentation on it's a joint presentation. I'll be joined by Barbara Starr. We're talking about semantic web issues, and Google came out with a patent that they called entity metrics, where they talked about how they might include some stuff on a search results page based upon things that are different than PageRank. Stuff like notability or related entities, or issues dealing with fame or contributiveness scores. Those are the metrics they're talking about. And Barbara found another patent a couple days ago that talks about the Google Buy Now button, and the metric that goes with that you need to be able to meet to have a Buy Now button show up is one that involves site quality. So if your site doesn't meet the site quality metric, you're not going to have a Buy Now button show up.
And do we have any clue yet as to what those metrics are? What will define whether or not you can have a buy button?
Well, I'm assuming that the Buy Now button is going to be involved in advertisements, and you won't get a Buy Now button if you advertise if your site quality isn't sufficient. And it's like an AdWords site quality measure. Do you have an FAQ on your page? Do you have other things that help with site quality? Oh, that sort of makes sense.
Yeah. It's one of those things that it's tricky. Google has to put out a certain amount of information on how you can qualify, but they've also got to balance that against the fact that the minute Google says these things define site quality, you get people sort of, well, I've done all of those. Why aren't I ranking number one?
Right. It's not a question of ranking number one, though.
It's always a question of ranking number one, Bill.
No. I was an in-house SEO, and one of the sites that I worked on, we preferred to be at number 2. We get higher levels of conversions if we were. Because number 1 site was a government site that didn't provide the services that we did. And it was a great informational site, so if you went and visited their pages and read through them, they referred to us at least once in there. So they sort of primed a conversion for us. They made it more likely that people going back to that search to find us again would recognize the name.
Yep.
And maybe make it a little bit more likely they would buy from us.
Priming the old buyer pump.
I'm thinking of messing with people just for the sake of it, and convincing them that this is another Googly's evil move. When it says Buy Now button, that's what it does to your traffic. Buy now. thought you'd like that one. It's funny how people do get so obsessed with Google and wanting it to run under completely different rules to everything else. I mean, you probably remember back in the day, Bill, when people wanted Google to be regulated like it was some sort of utility.
Right, a common carrier. Yeah, that was the phrase, right.
At which time, where does some of the tricks that the same people were doing to influence their ranking, you know, what does that do to that? Now you're messing with a public utility. Could be a federal offence now to start spamming Google, you know.
I don't know. Some of the federal laws involving spam, I'm not sure they would really be helpful. The Do Not Call list, the Can Spam Act, there's the Can Spam Act.
Yes, it does get like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see we have John with us, a regular supporter, and also Fabrizio. Hello.
Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good. Good. It's hot and muggy these parts, as you know. More overcast and muggy. I feel like the East Coast or something.
There's a nice chill breeze coming in off the Pacific here in Carlsbad.
You live closer than I do. We're not quite getting that breeze here inland.
Yeah, I understand it makes it like 10 degrees cooler.
Yeah, when we go to the beach, the thermometer drops 10, 15 degrees just in 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes heading to the beach down 76, so.
I've been taken to a habit of taking a walk afternoons around here to cool down. I walk down the street. There's a little park next to the lagoon between Carlsbad and Oceanside. And park benches there.
Good.
Named after a guy who was a Army lieutenant who was against shooting birds. He wanted to create a bird sanctuary.
Yeah.
There's a nice chill breeze that comes in out from the lagoon.
Yeah. It's nice down at the beach.
Yeah.
That's why I like to go kayaking on Thursdays, because we head to the beach, and it's always really pleasant.
Excellent. Well, Fabrizio, this is your first time joining us. Say hello. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Probably. Hold on. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up just a little. I think what the problem is, because you've got the curtains open behind you, you've got the bright light.
Yeah.
Your computers have to do a lot of processing to try and adjust for the light. If you can.
Yeah, let me just. Yeah, I'm going to. Hold on just a second, back.
Okay.
So, Terry.
Yes, sir.
What have you been up to this week? And don't give us this diving stuff. Specifically, what have you been working on this week? What's been interesting?
I've been working on some videos and formulating, getting a community started for a site that I'd be working for. I've been slowly building towards it, but you got to get the trust of the client, so that took me a year or so. So they see now that we're headed in the right direction. So getting that on the way, that's probably going to include some hangouts, some video interviews, and I'll be doing some live workshops here in Toronto. Hoping to bring some people in, get out the old Rolodex and see what we can come up with. Right, Bill?
Yeah.
Should come to Toronto and pay a visit.
Over the years, you've obviously been involved in a huge amount of communities with various forums. Even I Help You forum, I seem to remember, and how you put up with that, I do not know. But has anything changed? Is it still the same game to build a community these days? I
think there's a little bit more to work with, actually. we have something built in. The business that I'm working with is business center, and they've been in business for 30 years, so and we're just kind of moving it towards, there's a real change in this industry. They've been around so long that we're trying to get more into, like, have more of a community where the people naturally there are getting together and whatnot, right? We want to facilitate more networking and stuff. I think with so many people coming into the workforce now as one person, right? For me, that's been one of the big challenges, was to not feel lonely all the time, and like you're always on your own, right? So having that, I think, is good. Since I've been going there some myself too, I found it's good to have that feedback again, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think social media has made it easier to kind of attract a community in the first place. But the balance to that is, I find it's harder to get anyone to stick. You know, it's this whole attention deficit thing. There's so many other places they can be, so many other distractions. I find it's hard to get people to stick with the community now, unless it just instantly clicks for them.
Yeah.
So, we've got Edward joining us for the first time as well. Hello, Edward. Say hello. Introduce yourself.
Hi, man. Well, I'm Edward. I'm from the Netherlands. Currently, I'm working with White Spark in Canada. Still based out of the Netherlands, but and besides that, I'm a Google Maps business view photographer.
Cool. Yeah. So you do quite a few of the virtual tour kind of photography things for Google, yeah?
That's correct. Yes.
Excellent. Do you find that's a service that people are taking on pretty well? And are there specific industries that are kind of more buying into it than others? I would imagine that restaurants and hotels were much more keen to kind of get into the photograph side than some other businesses.
Yes, that's right. But okay, I can only speak for the Netherlands, of course, over here. Nevertheless, what I see over here also, dentists are very interested, because there are a lot of people with fear for dentists, and if they have a virtual tour, people can watch them on the tablet in the evening prior to visiting the dentist, can walk around the chairs, look up, down, left, right, everywhere to see what it is and what it looks like. So it gives some piece of confidence, rest, mental rest. Also.
They're working out where the exit is, isn't it? That's what they're doing.
Maybe the emergency exit also.
I'd have to mess with people. Look, here's the drill. Look at the drill.
Maybe we need some more videos, close-up of the drills.
And also
physiotherapists. They're also interested. And these, I don't know what you call them in English actually, these kind of Asian food stores. You know what I mean? We call them toko, but that's Indonesian for a store. But yeah, those kind of stores are interested also. And also, which is developing currently, are these indoor playgrounds for children.
Yeah.
You want to give very good information what it looks like for when the children are running around and where they can climb and everything.
Yeah. Where they had the birthday parties and other celebrations, right?
Those kind of children indoor playgrounds.
Mm-hmm. When I was in Virginia, there was a Global Foods place. That wasn't an Asian restaurant. An Asian supermarket. It covered a lot of nationalities. But the prices were a lot cheaper than the regular grocery store, especially for things like produce, which has insane markup in most grocery stores.
Believe me, these days it feels like everything's got insane markup. I tell you, I'm getting older. Todd, it's nice to see you here because, well, it's been forever, brother. Todd and I go way back. He's another one from the old days of the forums, the both had some fun when Google and Yahoo decided to take each other on in a pub one time, and the Yahoo guys were going around taking back all the goodies that the Google guys had given out to everyone.
No.
You still owe me 20 pounds from that night, man.
I probably do. Yeah, you haven't come back to the country since. I scared him off.
I'll get back over one of these days.
Yeah, definitely. You got to do it. How's things? How's life?
Fantastic, fantastic. Got in the corporate gig, you know, for big money. You know, out of the spamming game entirely, just behaving myself, and got a whole team under me. So I hardly get to do any of the actual SEO anymore. I got a really qualified bunch of guys, and I draw on whiteboards now. It's awesome.
You do the profit and loss statements and things like that?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What are the differences do you find between the corporate in-house and the sort of agency and consultant gigs?
Well, the biggest thing when I was on the agency side, we used to, I find agencies don't have a full understanding of the real issues with corporations actually getting things done, right? You see, every month you send over your list of recommendations, do this, do that, and then you do some reporting, and they never do anything. You get paid, but it's kind of this emptiness to it where you're just sending over stuff, getting paid, but nothing ever gets done. And then when I got in-house, I started to realize the actual why of things not getting done, the politics, the actual mechanics under the hood, the technology stacks, all these different reasons, and getting a full understanding of that was very interesting. But then getting in-house and being actually in that, in the mechanics of that, we've been able to affect a lot more change than I ever did as an agency. And I don't think I'll ever go back agency. I should have gone in-house years ago.
I must admit, there is that feeling. You are able to do so much more and to widen the scope of SEO. As an agency, they come to you, they've got a specific thing they want to do in mind, and they only let you play within that little sand park that they've marked out for you. Whereas when you're in-house, you can see what else you can help with, and things that they haven't realised your department can help with, and just really transform the company.
And you're exactly right. That was one of the biggest things, where there was this SEO team, but nobody knew about it, and they weren't connected to it, and it only worked in a couple of areas, and then all of a sudden word got out, and everybody's starting to clamor for this magic of SEO in the departments, and we're completely overloaded, which is fantastic, really.
Excellent.
My gig as an in-house SEO was back in the days when we just had Alta Vista and Google starting. So I ended up doing things like teaching people how to use mail merge.
Yeah. Yeah. In some ways, it's not a whole lot different at some of the levels.
No. Another person joining us for the first time this week, Aaron. Hello, welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey guys. So I'm actually calling in from Israel. It's about 10:20 p.m. right now. I've been doing. I think I know a bunch of the guys on here. I know Bill. I know Todd. Am I missing anyone else that I know?
Well, we know of each other. We haven't had the chance to actually meet.
Yeah, we may have crossed paths at an SMX once, but I don't think we have. So I've been in the. What was that?
I said that's possible.
Yeah. So I've been in the SEO space for I don't know, maybe 8 years now, 9 years, something like that. When I moved out here, I was the director of SEO at a small agency, and I did some consulting for a while, and I'm now heading up a technology that we're developing it's a reputation management, reputation dashboard for managing or tracking search results. Something we've been using internally for like 3, 4, 5 years maybe, and we're starting to build it and productize it, and so that's something that I'm in charge of right now. So, yeah, going well.
I certainly think that's going to be a much bigger area, the whole issue of reputation management. But I think at the end, it's not going to come down so much to the tools, or rather the reputation management. At the moment, it's still a lot of companies trying to control what people say about them, bury the bad, promote the good. And I think in 4 years' time, what we're going to see is companies having learned that the internet is open and people will have got used to sharing more, and it'll be much more about tracking those complaints so that you can genuinely deal with them and try to, you know, fix things.
I totally agree.
Management
In fact,
service, right?
yeah. So it's interesting because one thing that it's something that we've been dealing with a lot right now is, you know, one thing that we've excelled in for a very long time is dealing with, you know, working with clients who are suffering when they're in some kind of crisis, or they have something going on, some negative results that are there that we need to fix, but that's only part of the story. Part of this, a big part of it is how do you prevent yourself from getting into, or how do you prevent yourself from crisis mode? So it's something that we've actually, you know, started doing a lot more, is helping brands, helping them set themselves up. So when the proverbial crap hits the fan, where, you know, they're ready for it, and they know how to, you can combat it because you're prepared for that, and sort of in setting them up so they're not going to fail when it goes down.
I must admit,
one problem with that,
well,
it depends upon the people you hire. If you don't hire the right people, doesn't matter what you do.
I think that's
things. Most of the stuff I see where it's got to the point that you're talking about, somebody did something stupid, right? Said something off the cuff. That's where it usually starts. So
we happen to. So one of the areas that we actually work in, which is kind of interesting, is kind of what you're saying. We work with a lot of people in the financial services industry. So what ends up, they tend to, sometimes they have, you know, they have a lot of money and they don't know what to do. They get themselves in trouble sometimes. So I guess that's where we've historically, you know, we've excelled, or we've done a lot of good work. Yeah.
I must admit, this raises an interesting one for me, and this is for you, Edward. Do you find that sometimes people, you know, pay for the photography, and then you do it all, and then they realise something's on show they didn't want? Do you ever get asked to edit the images afterwards, or that you've taken photographs of something they didn't want photographed?
Okay, first, of course, as you probably well aware of, that is that we need to blur the faces, blur license plates. There is an auto blurring in the system, which also blurs faces from wall posters. Actually, so I once did a beauty salon, and there were a lot of, well, makeup posters on the walls, and all those faces were blurred, funny enough. Sometimes pieces are blurred that you think, how does the algorithm detect this, that this has to be blurred? It happened to me only once, that the business owner came to me after having the tour online. That was because they, by law, they were sued. They had to change their business name. It was conflicting with another business who was having the same name, who registered the name earlier on in the Netherlands. So they had to change their business name, and actually this was an indoor playground, and there were a lot of places on the playground where they had the logo and the name. So the thing is, I already had published the tour, but I've asked the European coordinator from Google to put it back into moderation mode so I can edit it, and then I could apply all the blurs. And then to make sure that it went smooth through quality control, I had to send an extra note to quality control team that they had to pay attention to this, that it was done that this was all done on purpose.
Yeah.
But for the rest, it never happened to me that a business owner asked me to remove things. What I always do prior to shooting, I walk around like 2, 3, 4 times, and I look everywhere. Obviously with different eyes than a normal visitor would look. for example, pieces of paper on the wall above a printer, or yeah, they still have faxes sometimes, with a number of a service person or so individual cell phone numbers, or names of list with names of children who are attending how do you call it, kindergarten, and I always look for those kind of things, and I have them removed before I start shooting.
Yeah, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Because it's a lot simpler to make sure it doesn't go in the first place, the same as quality control anywhere else. But you know, it just did strike me that I think this is going to be the big change for so many of us. Is we're not wired to be this public. We're not ready yet for the amount of public scrutiny that can come. You know, we're used to maybe our friends being able to talk about us, but that used to only affect, you know, a small group of people. And now, thanks to social media, thanks to the internet, it's amazing what could be out there and what mistakes people have.
Your whole interior is on the on the internet. So that's the reason why we're also not allowed. Well, we are allowed, but from ethics standpoint, I think we shouldn't do it. Do virtual tours of banks and other kinds of places. There are also conditions if we do shoot a tour in hospitals or other caretaking places. There are a lot of restrictions that we're not allowed to shoot a person, even not if we blur the faces afterwards. But imagine all the data that's being collected by Google this way. I am pretty confident that they are doing OCR on all the photos we take, that they recognize the text, that they know the whole inventory, all the products that a certain shop is selling, because the pictures are that clear and crisp that if I walk through an aisle, you can see the products on the side. You can read the names of the products, the brands, the places where they manufactured. You can see the prices. So combine that with a next generation kind of Google Glass thing, if it will ever come. I think it will, maybe in a different shape or form. You can just ask where can I find the chili paste, and it directs you to the Asian store or across the corner, and saying that go left, go right, go forward, stop here, look at your right, third shelf from the top. There it is, the brand you like because you purchased it before as well.
Mm-hmm. Google does have a patent now for machine learning recognition of logos.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they showed with machine learning in a project they did a couple years ago that their machines can recognize cats in videos without being told what a cat was or having any idea cats even existed.
Look what Google Photos is doing now.
Google Photos is doing some amazing things.
It detected weddings, and it made even a difference between people dressed up nice and people at a wedding. And they made a difference between the pictures I took of a bonfire and a campfire. They made it. They saw the difference.
Mm-hmm. So when I do an audit and I get to the part about photo optimization, I stress the fact that if you're going to optimize a photo, make it a meaningful photo that's about whatever the page is about. You know? If you're a limo company and you're specializing in high school kids going to the prom in a limo, don't just show us a couple pictures of high school age kids dressed up. Show them next to a limo. You know? Make it actually mean something.
And what I also always advise talking about photos is optimizing the IPTC data in the photos. The metadata.
The EXIF?
No, not the EXIF, because the EXIF is from the camera. You cannot edit the EXIF. Normally, you're not allowed. No, you're not supposed to, like shutter time and aperture and things like that. But there is this IPTC data that you can add to the metadata that you can add to a photo.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke about that in the past, Edward.
Yeah, we spoke about it.
That, sir.
Yeah.
As far as you know, how it affects Google's rankings, etc. Any update on that, sir?
I've noticed interesting things by tagging the photos. Also, geotagging them if they've not been geotagged by the camera helps a lot.
Yeah, and I think this is going to become more important for video down the line as well. That tagging your videos internally, metadata in.
That's what I'm doing also prior to uploading the videos nowadays.
And Google has some great training sets on the web to learn from. Places like Flickr, where they can just read all the metadata and learn from it. And then use that training set to look at other images on the web and get a better sense of what they're about.
Yeah.
Edward, what program are you using to edit metadata in a video?
Okay, in a video, I use the program is called Media Pro. It's on the Mac, but I believe it's also available for Windows. Media Pro.
Thank you. Add that to my list.
It's a great tool. That's besides Picasa, which is still useful for geotagging photos easily and quickly, because you have to, if you're geotagging photos, I don't want to be talking all the time, guys, but okay, we're talking. If you're geotagging photos, there are two fields where you should tag them. The one is from the camera, so that should be in the EXIF header. And there's this IPTC data where you can add a longitude and latitude. And Picasa is only doing the EXIF, and what I always do is also copy and paste it to the IPTC part of the photo, because I've noticed that some sites use the one and the other. Some other sites use the other metadata. So if you're not doing both, you might miss out somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you also, Edward? Do you also work with closed captions for videos?
Always. I always make subtitles of all my videos.
I went through like 300 or so videos a couple summers ago to try to find some that were done well. And out of the 300, the only one that turned out good was a State of the Union address from Obama. That was edited. Everything else,
it's garbage.
The product names were wrong. The locations were misspelled.
I think the Mars Whiteboard Fridays are done well because, of course, they do a full transcript for the blog post anyway.
Right.
So they've already taken out the audio. But this is the problem, with a lot of these things. With Hangouts, it's a nightmare because the price for getting somebody to transcribe an hour of video is high. And it's not like you're getting much return on investment on a lot of these.
Got one done the other day, about $1 a minute. Talk to me later.
Really?
That's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah, but yeah, exactly that. You're looking at a serious investment in getting that kind of transcription done. I think that just makes it a little bit prohibitive for a lot of people, which is a shame.
A video on a product website, a video on each page can really make a difference, can really increase the sales of that product.
Yeah, it does.
They did those, and the videos, they had videos of their products used at things like the Republican National Convention and so on. So you're seeing not only the product in use, but the product in use in creative ways.
I think any time you've got a video where you've started with a script in the first place, there is no excuse for not having closed captions, because you've got the script before you've even got the video, so you should be getting that up there.
I found that when you add a video to a web page, makes a huge difference in the conversion, ranking, a whole bunch of stuff.
Time on page.
Pardon me?
The time on the page.
Time on page, yeah. But for the company I was working for, the part about actually seeing it in action, it was musical instruments. And when the guitar players played 4 or 5 different styles in that video, that was ace. That was really good.
Cool. I think Fabrizio is back, so yeah.
Hello.
Tell us a bit.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. Nice to meet you guys. I've been following you for quite a while. It's just the first time I managed to have time. Just a bit about myself. I do SEO for Lydia Manor, London, so it's agency and price client. With the pain that you mentioned earlier, and things not getting done, and very difficult to get things implemented. That's the kind of thing we look at. Yeah. Reputation management, some client, we do that ourselves.
So where are you based?
I mainly do SEO. In London, yeah.
All right. So you're quite local.
Yeah.
Did you say local or local?
Local, yeah. He's in SEO. You've got to be loco for that too, I think.
Yeah, that's for sure. Helps.
If you're not, Google will soon send you that way. Somebody was talking the other day about privacy issues and how difficult it can be to get vanilla results on Google these days. And I said Google has become sort of the Hotel California of the internet. You can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. So, I'll tell you, one of the things that got me this week was I was reading a post earlier today about privacy, and it was from old friend Ruud Hein, and talking about the latest drone technology, and in particular this camera that is incredible. I mean, it's able to monitor with video a 10-kilometer area and still recognize objects that are only 6 inches wide. But 10 kilometers of 6 inches wide at a time.
Unbelievable.
Yes. It's basically the equivalent of 100 of the current sort of Predator drone technology all at once. It is doing a composite video from all of these different cameras and putting it together. And, you know, it's scary stuff. It is. It's at the level now where they can be monitoring a city constantly with one single camera.
There's like websites that show you where you can walk through London without being filmed by a CC camera.
Yeah, they're wrong.
No.
Yeah, they're not being filmed by one they can see or recognise, but there's still so many more that they don't know about. And the police over here in the UK have had on the standard traffic cameras that are mounted on helicopters the ability to recognise a number plate, to read a number plate from a mile up. So there's no time at which you can guarantee you are not on CCTV anywhere in London unless you're indoors in your own home.
Even there?
Exactly. I mean, if the government had reason to monitor you, the technology for using fibre optic cameras, where a single filament of fibre optic glass is put through a wall, you know, it's the thickness of a hair, but it can watch your room completely.
Wow.
I once did a project for police here in the Netherlands for a huge new police station in the east part of the Netherlands. And they were investigating monitoring software from Israel about that was capable of even recognizing faces of all the CCTV cameras mounted everywhere.
Yeah.
Huge amount of processing power, and they would even pick someone out of a group crossing a street or so, just boom, there they are.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things that we've become aware of. Seeing how good, you know, Facebook's facial recognition is getting, and Google's facial recognition, companies that aren't spending, you know, hundreds of billions of taxpayers' money on this are still able to afford this and use it in real time. So it does show you exactly how much more the government must have. Oh, look at that! I can see the front of Todd's head instead of the side. How are you doing, Todd? You're back with us. So, where do we think, you know, it used to be only a few years ago that privacy concerns meant we needed to tell people about what we were doing with their email address, and, you know, it still seems like most websites are obsessed with telling people their cookie policy.
Mm-hmm. I understand that Apple just announced that they're turning up contextual awareness on Siri to get a better sense of how it can help people, which means it's going to be paying more attention to what they do to provide that type of help.
Yeah.
You know, at which point do we not want that type of intrusiveness? And I'm not picking on Apple. Google's guilty of the same thing with Google Now, and Siri is getting turned up that way to try to make it more like Google Now.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's interesting, and part of it is how they use it, isn't it? I mean, if they say, look, our phone is going to be listening to what's going on around you all the time so that we can tell when you're in the car and not bother you, that would probably appeal to a lot of people. That's safer, isn't it? Because we all know that a lot of accidents are caused by distractions on your mobile phone while you're driving. You know, it should have only people that are the most talked to in your contact list are allowed to call you while you're in your car. By listening to the engine sounds and detecting motion, it could do that. It could filter that for you and make your life safer. But
Yeah, I saw.
we're listening all the time to detect when you're in the car.
Google does have a couple of patents that include something they call a media consumption history, where they'll maybe influence your search results based upon whether or not you're familiar with the actor in a certain movie or the singer in a certain song or so on, and they know that you've seen them or heard them because they've recorded you listening to them or you watching them. So, you know, that sounds a little bit intrusive.
Yes, a lot. And, you know, it can know your music taste, it can know your TV taste, it can know, you know, a lot of the things you're doing. It can know if you've argued with your wife, you know, and suggest flowers the next day, which may seem nice, but yeah, I think it's too easy to start going down that path of, if we haven't specifically agreed to this, you shouldn't be doing it at all.
However, they give you the choice to opt out, right?
Oh, choice to opt out is different. I think they should be asking us before they decide.
What, am I sounding like the ignorant person in the room?
I always like that choice of opting in for some reason. Seems a little more reasonable.
Yeah.
And I always opt in for Google to listen to me. I'm like, heck yeah, I want
Well,
to
they're
listen
just
to you.
making you a trip then, aren't they?
Kind of getting that to be that way.
I must admit, I think it was Samsung that changed their policy. Their smart TVs, of course, did exactly the same thing. They built up a history of what channels you watched and at what times, and therefore who you were watching, what you were interested in. I know they had a bit of a reversal and took away a whole load of features from their smart TVs. It is a thing I think we're going to have to deal with more and more over the next few years. And the trouble is, I mean, let's face it, this is very new for all of us, and the only way we're going to know what could go wrong is when it does.
Well, they already know what you watch now. All that data's caught in your, you know, in your receiver for cable. They got all that data. They know what you're watching. I mean, I wish they'd just schedule on my TV that I wouldn't have to, you know, find a channel that what I want to watch, because I watch the same thing all the time. Just put it there for me, and if I'm not watching, big deal.
I think this is kind of related. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm just tempted to start leaving my phone in another room, listening to something else while I'm watching TV elsewhere. Go on, mess with that.
I've heard this, and I don't know if it's actually true, but is there a difference between, like, the security between Windows 7 versus anything higher?
Yeah.
What the level of security?
Yeah, like, the amount of, like, control that I don't know, the government can have over what?
No. Most of the governments is done by tapping at the ISP level. It's everything going into and out of your computer. Yeah, they can put a lot of pressure on other companies. Any company you give your data to, you're almost waving a red flag at the government saying, hey, hit this company, they've got all the data you could want. And this is where Google is going to struggle. You know, Google has got so good at collecting data on us all. It's like waving a red rag to a bull for the FBI, for the CIA, for the NSA, that they've got all that data. But, you know, everything you could want to know is in one place. Of course you're going to subpoena them. Of course you're going to threaten them. You know.
They anonymize things pretty quickly, don't they, Ammon? Like, they know who makes the actual search when it's done, but a month from now they may not have that data anymore, right? They just know someone looked at that query.
Yes, we don't know how long they're keeping the data.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And of course, there's levels. There's certain bits of data that they might keep for years, which site you ended up on. But exactly which search you made, maybe not. It depends. I mean, some of this will be local cookies, because that way they can keep it for a long, long time. But it wouldn't be on their servers, and it wouldn't be easy for them to be forced to give over.
Well, and thanks to Edward Snowden, like, we have at least a little bit of something scaring them from, you know, doing, or at least repeating.
And there's been a few initial changes to policies on these kind of things too, which it's early days. You know, we'll have to see where it goes, and we have to not be satisfied with the answer at the moment. We've got to not just say, oh well, they know about it, they're dealing with it. I think this is something. Look, you know, none of us know where this is going. Nobody. We're
seeing companies like Google offer unlimited storage for photographs. It's like, okay, that's where all the data goes. It falls into a hole.
Yeah.
You know? Same with Gmail. You know, you're pretty much unlimited. You can upload 16 megabyte pictures at a time, and as many of them as you want, and keep on going. How many millions of dollars was that storage 10 years ago?
Yeah.
The cost has gone down tremendously.
Yes, it has, and you know, there's a lot of areas this is true. I mean, to a large extent, we could say that the ability to store energy, you know, batteries have also jumped immensely in the same time period. The cost of a unit to store 1 kilowatt hour of electricity 5 years ago was 4 times what it is today, which has made things like the Powerwall possible. And Bosch have a very similar product, and lots of others have similar products, which I think is also going to change our lives.
The Tesla Powerwall?
Yeah, which it's an exciting product. You know, there's things that he doesn't talk about that I want to know about. You know, before I got into e-cigarettes, I didn't know that much about batteries. I believed some of the common myths, you know, that batteries don't last very long. Well, with battery management systems, they last an awfully long time, which is why electric car batteries will last a lot longer than 3 years. Whereas, you know, the kind of batteries you use at home for a lot of things, there's no system to manage the memory effect on batteries, where, you know, if it isn't fully drained when you start charging it again, you lose that.
Right.
A battery management system you can have multiple cells that make up an overall battery. It's lots of little batteries to make a battery, and it can drain each one completely before. So, you know, even on half a charge, it's actually that half of all the batteries you've got are fully discharged and half are still fully charged. That helps extend the life of the thing, breaking it down into smaller battery units. You know, this kind of system makes them last a lot longer. But the thing that struck me is, of course, at the same time we're more aware of people having fires and accidents at home, because more people are using rechargeable batteries at the time, we're seeing more people get battery fires because you're pumping electrical energy into a chemical reaction to make that chemical reaction store electrons on one side. I think there might be more dangers that we're not aware of yet, and we won't really know for a few years. I like the idea, but I'd like to see more talk about the safety aspect. I don't know if you saw Elon Musk's presentation about the Powerwall, but actually, my word, that was so sketchy. I mean, there was nothing about the battery life. He told you, oh, look how pretty this is, and here's how much of the country it would take to generate solar energy for everyone. Wonderful, big picture stuff, but nothing about what's the battery life like. How long, I'm paying $3,000 for this thing, how long does it last? Because if I'm having to buy it again every 3-5 years, I want to know that. Now, it's still going to be worthwhile. It can still save you more electricity in that time. More money on electricity in that time, by far, than it's worth. You should make at least 20 times back what it costs in a worst case scenario. But that's not my only worry, and I don't think it would be the only worry for everybody else. I think we do want to know, is this thing a fire risk? However small, is this thing a fire risk, and what are the safety precautions?
There was a guy from the University of Delaware who was studying the use of electric cars as batteries. They're plugged into the grid already. Have the electricity flow the other way out of them and help power things during peak hours.
No. Batteries are fascinating. I think we do underuse them. I'm, as you know, a keen historian, looking at some of those ancient batteries with the clay jars, with the iron and copper thing in lemon juice. Fascinating how long ago civilization had electricity that way. They used to use it for plating, they think, but certainly they had batteries which are essentially very similar to car batteries over 2,000 years ago.
So they weren't running video games off these?
Apparently not, but who knows? Maybe the Nintendo of the time was here, stick this on your tongue.
Yeah.
We are coming close to the end, and considering we have quite a packed panel to get through, I'm going to start kicking it over now to plans for the next week. What are you up to for the next week? So, Bill, let's start with you. What are you up to next week?
I had mentioned I'm going to be presenting at a meetup with Barbara Starr on semantic web issues and entity metrics, and I think we need to finalize a presentation for that. We've been promoting a lot of it on Twitter and so on, and a lot of the other meetup groups that are co-hosting it have been doing the same. And we're sort of excited that Moz and Seer are both sponsoring it, but we need to actually come up with some entertaining things to say during that presentation.
Yeah.
Which will be fun. I think there's a lot there.
Sponsors tend to like that, Bill.
What's that?
Content.
Yeah. True. True.
So, Terry, what are you up to this coming week?
Oh, I'll probably work some more on the video. And, I'll probably look at adding some movie schema to it. I've done the initial posting, so now I'll add the schema and see if, it jumps to number 1.
Awesome. Yeah.
See, I told you earlier, it's all about the number 1, Bill. Kristin, what are you up to this week?
Well, first of all, I thought it was number 2. Just top secret stuff. The usual.
Top secret stuff.
Yeah. I can't talk about it.
See, when we say the NSA is watching you, the way they do it is they send very pretty spies out, and that's what Kristin is doing on G+.
Why do you think I hang out with these guys? I need to get all the best secrets.
John, I know what you're up to tomorrow, but tell everyone else.
Yeah, well, yeah, the shameless plug for our small business web tech, where we're going to talk about small businesses. Your website is a business asset, and Bill's going to be there to help.
John,
talk about and think about that.
Is that a meetup where people can attend in person?
Yeah.
And it's really
It's
showing up during the middle of the day while it's going on?
Yeah, we have a meetup at the Oceanside Chamber where you can actually come and sit, and we do our broadcast at the exact same time, so it makes for a real interesting situation. Yeah, we have a live audience and then the online audience all at the same time.
So I'll be able to interact with David Amerland in person?
Yeah, people actually during the green room, people would come up and sit and chat with them and talk with them about it, and yeah, we try to get interaction with the audience as much as we can. Some people are very shy and don't want to do it, but yeah, we try to get people to get up and engage and get them looking at how it all works.
Who's appearing on the show?
We got Ammon, we have Mary Ionetti, I think I'm saying her name right, and Mike Bays, B-A-Y-E-S, Bays, I think I'm saying that right. And Gina Fidel is going to be co-hosting with us, and it's going to be a series of 3 shows. This first one's kind of like getting the basic website asset concept narrowed down. Next month is going to be integrating your website with your business and how you can integrate it and making your business more web-centric and vice versa. And then the last one's going to be on visibility kind of ideas. We won't have a title for it yet, but it's going to be about getting found, making yourself found, etc.
What time is it?
It's at it starts at 2:30 and the green room opens at 2 o'clock. So come on over, Bill, and visit us.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you.
The details, if you're not already following John, do so, and you can look at the posts and catch up there. Or ping him a message.
Coming to the meetup I'm holding, but I think you've talked me into coming to the one you're holding.
Well, I've got your meetup on my calendar. I'm going to try to make it if nothing weird happens. So yeah, I am going to try to come down and visit you.
All right.
Fabrizio, how's your week ahead looking?
Going to be quite busy. We're closing up a very long migration. It lasted for almost 1 year because this client of us is moving half of the site now, half of the site later on, so it's been quite painful now. And then I'm going to spend the rest of the week working on crawling and e-commerce because there's always some new issue coming into the picture. One of our clients is launching space, and we have to sort out kind of what will happen next on the site. Yeah.
Cool.
And then a few more projects. I like to enjoy more of the real SEO rather than some of the enterprise clients we have. So I have a lot of small projects that I'm finishing, but it's just a matter of time. Hopefully we'll get a grip with it.
Everything's always a matter of time. Edward, what are you up to this week?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to shoot a wedding by Friday. Before that time, I will still be doing client work for Wyld Spark. Then coming week, I shouldn't say shoot, otherwise the NSA or the Dutch equivalent of the NSA should be knocking on my door. The Dutch Queen. I have a nice photo shoot to do coming week. It's a special occasion where I've been asked. Thanks to my local visibility, guys. There was an American institution, I can't say too much, that found me because of my physical location. And there is an happening coming week at the Royal Palace here, and this American association found me because I was scoring #1 with 32 reviews for my local photography site. And so that's coming week. So yeah, a lot of things to do, and for the rest, I'm experimenting and with some Google application scripting to scrape reviews from review sites and rework them in some kind of, well, I abuse RSS. I know it shouldn't be done, but I abuse RSS because you can easily post-process it, for example, in ifttt.com, if this then that, or other tools to redistribute them.
Interesting. And well, I'll be with John tomorrow. Other than that, I'm having a reasonably quiet week this week. I'm hoping. Touch wood. But looking forward to seeing everyone next week. Thanks all for joining us, and that's all we've got time for this week. Take care.